Okay guys, today we are in my backyard here in Southwest Florida, on Southwest Cape Coral, and for all of you wondering why the heck you doing that, I had a lot of storm damage back here. I had the fence torn down, the fence front torn down, the roof was ripped up, and the shed over there even has a little damage still. But I just figured this would be a very appropriate place to start today because we're going to be talking about insurances. We're going to be talking about new homes versus old and how that affects your insurances. We're going to be talking about what's going on locally and the changes that are happening, the workforce, what kind of jobs are really available, and do you really get paid that well being here? So many things to unpack for you, but I know insurance has been a big concern for a lot of people, so we're going to be discussing today, Florida insurance can't be that bad, can it? We're getting after that next. All right, so we're going to talk about insurance because it's in the news all the time, right? Everybody's always complaining about rates going up, problems they're having with insurance. I can't get coverage. I was dropped. My roof's only 15 years old. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be changing with that too. There's been a reform put in place, and it's just the beginning where they're going to start kind of grabbing a hold of the processes a little bit better and allowing less freedom when it comes to filing claims and who files them and all that. But we're going to get into that in a minute. But I'm going to tell you one of the first things you need to do is audit your own policy. I had something happen this week. I was getting my mortgage to, go paperless, so I'm online, all right, and I'm looking at this new payment that is about $700 more per month than previously, and it really made me stop my tracks. I'm like, wait, what happened here? Call the insurance company. They're like, we don't know what happened. There's been no change. You don't even renew till February. So I've had no change in my insurance this entire time since the storm, and it does renew in February every year. So obviously we went through the time after the storm, nothing changed, right? So everything's copacetic. Well, come to find out that somebody within the company, within the mortgage company, decided to put a $5,600 amount in the spot that 13 and change was supposed to be. So yeah, that's going to make a huge difference in your payment. So once we tracked all this information down, they're correcting it, they're updating it. I'm going to get back to my normal payment. But the point is if I wouldn't have gone through the steps to audit my own policy, and I'm going to do it again when February comes back around, you know what? Raise those deductibles. Make the payment as low as possible. Why should I be making monthly payments when it's more than I need? And again, the chances of a storm that just happened coming again to that magnitude that we're going to have this kind of damage is very, very unlikely. However, you're still going to be insured. Maybe just leave it a little bit looser on the deductible so you can bring your payment down. So that's a little tip for you, do that. There was a woman that had something like this happen to her. Her company was dropping her because her roof was 15 years old or older, and she was freaking out. They were going to increase her policy like 4 times the amount of the norm. So she had to dig around. She went out and just started shopping and shopping and shopping. Her top quote that she got from somebody was $7,000. In the end, she ended up at $1,900. That's because she did the homework, she went through the steps, she shopped everything to make sure you're getting the coverages you need. Many people are overinsured in some cases, so get that stuff straight so that you're not going to be impacted as heavily when it comes to insuring your home. Now, legislation has been put into place that's going to help this problem because Florida, obviously, yeah, we've got problems with insurance. There's been a gross misuse of the legal system as well as the insurances, and there's people asking for roof replacements after a storm that their roof was already 20 years old. So no, you don't deserve to get a new roof because of the storm. It was dead anyway. And that's the kind of stuff that happens because the roofing companies, they will come by and knock on your door and they'll tell you, we're going to take care of everything for you. We're going to put the claim in, we're going to do all of that. Well, guess what? One of the reform things is they're going to start restricting that third-party access to that stuff. It's going to be more about the homeowner and the insurance company hashing it out because 9% of the actual claims to insurance companies come from Florida. 79% of the litigation comes from Florida. How does that figure, right? Think about that. How small the claim number is, yet all the litigation that goes behind it. Why are so many people sue happy in Florida? Don't know. That's what the reforms are about. And just in case you were wondering, how am I going to get insurance if there's no companies there? We have 6 new insurance companies coming into the state to start taking over these policies. These are companies that haven't really had the losses because they've been in other areas of the country. And now that they're going to be better protected by these reforms, they're going to start coming in again. So choices will be there to be made, and we might have to suffer through a short period where the rates stay a little higher for a bit, but they should adjust. We're going to also be talking about something else in just a minute that's going to help to encourage you on what you want out of your home when it comes to how it's going to be insured. Now, homes are built completely differently in Florida than they are pretty much anywhere else in our country. And it's kind of like, if you look at how the map is, Florida hangs out there like a little carrot dangling in front of a horse, right? Just something waiting to be chomped on. And that's what happens. We're so overly exposed down here with these storms that we have to have more fortitude in the buildings. That's why we're going to have the concrete block. These are thick block walls, and it's the most commonly asked for structure. Sure, you can get wood frame here, but you might have seen, if you watched any of the footage from Fort Myers Beach with the storm, wood can float away. And it definitely happened. As tragic as all that was, most of the structures that were getting major damage, like relocation damage, they were wood frame homes. So yes, they might be able to withstand the winds because they get built differently. And we're going to be talking about building codes here in a minute too, and how they differ with the new construction and the older. But these are the kinds of things that you want to be thinking about when you're making your home selection, and make sure you're getting what's going to make you the most comfortable, protect you the most, and also make you the most fiscally responsible. Now, because our homes are built to this extra standard of strength and needing these different materials, that's why the cost can be a little bit more in some areas. Now, again, there's plenty of areas in the country that have many more expensive homes than we have, but if you're taking just the average home, we might be a little bit higher than what the average is throughout the country. But I know here in the Cape Coral area, the Fort Myers area, that we are still kind of middle of the pack for the state. So we're still one of the more affordable areas. And again, since we're in the subtropical part of being down in Southwest Florida, we can offer the lifestyle to go with the affordability. So if you're still looking, this might be your area. Now, when we talk about new construction versus resale homes, older homes, a couple of things we have to think about is when a code change happens, they're not just changing the materials, they're changing the processes. They're changing the way the nails get put in, the angles that are used, the way they're attached, how many attachments there are, the quality of the materials being used. And I think that you could also agree that the quality of the craftsmanship is probably going to be better because these are more experienced people, been doing it longer, the repetition of everything. So there's a lot of reasons why new construction is definitely going to probably fortify you better, but what it's also going to do is it's going to encourage the insurance companies to keep your rates lower. My home's only 4 years old. And again, my insurance, it's under $1,500 for the year. Now, I don't live on water, as you can see. Okay, I don't have a lot of extras. I don't have the pool and stuff to insure. It's a fenced-in yard, so basically keep everybody out of it. So don't have to worry about anybody getting hurt on my property. But those are the things you want to put into consideration, because the resale homes, when you get to the older homes, they were built with different materials. They used different fasteners. They used different techniques in the way they did it. So the insurance company puts this thing into perspective. And one of the big ones that you know of is the third nail in the hurricane straps. Do you know where that came from? After Hurricane Andrew, all the way back in '95, roofs were coming off of the houses. That's how intense, and I remember that was Cat 5 as well. Huge, massive storm, but roofs were being just ripped off. So they had to fortify that, and that's one of the ways they did that. But every single time that we have a storm that does catastrophic damage, they start looking at how can we do it better. After Ian, now they're looking at elevation. They want to elevate the homes a little bit more, make things a little bit more secure when it comes to getting out of the floodplains. So this is why new construction might be a preference for you. Now with the older homes, you're going to get more character out of them. Many of them have a different style that you're not going to find in the new construction. New construction's pretty much cookie cutter, as you might have heard people say. We're getting better at modifying some of the styles so that you have something that's unique to yourself, but that's kind of where the biggest difference comes in, and why you might want to consider an older home is just that character part, or maybe the neighborhood. There's certain neighborhoods obviously that are built in a certain time frame. Southeast is going to have most of the older homes, so if you really like that older style, look in the Southeast. Most of the other areas are relatively new. You're going to find a very mixed neighborhood in most cases with age of homes when you look in the other three quadrants. But Southeast, if you're looking for character, is probably where you're going to want to look. The other thing that happens when you look at with the older construction is that you're not going to have a lot of the green efficiencies. You're not going to have a smart home. You're not going to have many of the amenities that some of the newer homes have. The electrical and plumbing could give you some issues. I mean, one of the problems I know that come up with homes that are back in the 60s is we like to scope those pipes, the cast iron pipes, because if they happen to crack or roots grow through them or something like that, you could be in for a massive repair later. So there's certain steps you need to take with older homes that if you're considering it, make sure you're checking all these boxes off. Now, another area that the resale homes, the older construction does have a little bit of an advantage is affordability. Again, this is kind of, the affordability part is just for the house. You still have to take into account if there's a pool, if it's golf access, because those things will definitely change the price. Pools right now, if you were to add one to a property, you're looking about $100,000 if you put the cage on, and just a basic pool, nothing special. 12 by 24, just basic. If you're on a golf access lot, most golf access lots, you're going to be starting in the high 100s, low 200s, and then those can go up into the high 100,000s. I'm going to say like 800,000. I'm not going to say we're going to get to $1 million for a piece of land. That's kind of unlikely. But asking prices and sale prices can be completely different. Here's a fun fact for you. All you people that are trying to wait for the rates to come down before you make a decision on buying, did you know in 1971 the interest rates were 7.33%? And do you know if you would have waited for the rates to get better, you would have waited till 1993. Now, in those 22 years of paying rent, do you know that the value of homes quadrupled? So how much money are you saving if you're going to wait for the rates to improve? I'm going to show you here in a minute how home prices are going to continue to escalate, and so are the home sales. That means the more that get sold, those prices are going to continue to climb. So how long do you wait? Do you wait for another quadruple? Do you just lock down now, and if the rates come back around, then you refinance? That's probably the better play. All right, so pending sales are up 4.8% year over year from last year. And part of that is because the supply, it's kind of eased up a little bit. We're getting a little more of the homes. The interest rates are starting to adjust down a little bit, right? You're seeing that decline, and they're supposed to continue declining, albeit small, but they're going to decline. People still have to move. That's definitely one that's going to be there. There's nothing we can do about that, right? If you have to move, you have to move. And then the big one, this is where the tides have really turned. Sellers are now giving concessions. We talked about this in a prior video, and you're going to want to find out about this. I know for a fact they're much more negotiable. James and I just went out the other day, put a home under contract, and he did very well. But he was also very firm on his resolve for what he wanted. And what's happening right now is homes are sitting on the market for a little bit longer. We definitely run the comps. Comps are one of the first things we're going to look at. We're going to make sure you're getting the right pricing. We want to try to keep you under the value. In his case, definitely wanted to be under the value because he had some updates and some remodeling he wanted to do, and didn't want to have to come out of pocket a terrible amount of money. But these are all things that'll get into that conversation now. The buy downs. People are giving $10,000 for you to buy down your rate. And if you're buying down your rate, it's going to go a lot further than if you just take it as closing cost contribution. It can be a few $100 a month difference, or at least a couple hundred a month, versus what? Just paying off $10,000 worth of closing costs? That's not saving you anything over time. So if you have the opportunity to buy down your interest rate with money offered by the seller, that's a win for you. Now, the forecast that they have for the coming year and to finish this year is probably going to be in the opposite direction as to what you think. There's going to be price increases still. They might be gradual, but they're going to be increases. The other thing is the number of homes sold. It's going to increase as well. So here's the problem. As you increase the home sales, you're taking from the inventory, which is then going to force the prices up more. Here again, if you can afford at today's rates and it makes sense, maybe you can even buy down the rate. It might make a whole lot more sense to get that home now and worry about a refinance later if you even need to. Now here's something, if you are familiar with real estate at all, you'll know that commercial and retail play a big part in the overall scheme of what real estate is doing. They follow one another. So when one market's up, the other one follows it, and vice versa. On the way down, it goes back down. Right now, retail and commercial are killing it. We're bringing in so many new companies, and we're seeing all this growth on the retail side of things. And I know you're thinking, hey, but I shop online. Well, you know what? Amazon's my best friend. I should own stock in it because I use it so much. But I still have to go to the store for some things, right? And that's where these new retailers that are coming in, they're counting on that. They know people still want to go touch it, feel it. It could be something, a clothing thing even. You know, a lot of people won't just buy clothes online or shoes because they're not sure of the fit. So they're still going to need a store. Stores, the brick and mortars aren't gone forever. They might be adjusting right now because of the online presence, but as I just mentioned, there's so many things that you still want to be able to go touch, feel, and know that you have somebody, like if it's something you're going to buy that's a mechanical, some kind of machinery, and you buy it locally, you can service it locally, maybe even with the same company you bought it from. That's not happening when you get it online. And many times with large things that you order online like that, not only is the shipping going to be expensive as heck, but there's no way they're servicing that thing, or it's going to cost you a boatload of money to send it back or send it to somebody to service. So just keep in mind, brick and mortar's here to stay. We're running very strong with it. We're adding it all the time. You drive around Cape Coral, and we're going to get to that in a minute, you'll see plenty of it. Lots of building, lots of construction, lots of retail. And that brings me to the next point. I just said driving around, right? You might know that one of the things that I ask you to do when you start working with me is to drive the neighborhoods, get a feel for the area, see what feels good to you. Do you know why I do this? Do you know why this is so important? Because if I was to drive you through an area, I'm only doing it to make it the fastest process possible because we're trying to see homes or whatever we're doing. We don't have the time to go around the neighborhood and check everything out, see what's on the other side of the neighborhood, what's over in this direction, how far is it from that? I can't do all that stuff. It takes too much time. So if you do that at the front end and start eliminating neighborhoods or start adding neighborhoods to your list that you really want to be in, that's going to make the process so much easier. So drive the areas, check them out. I have both Carl and Susan going through this process right now. They're looking at condos in certain areas. I'm guiding them based upon what they've been telling me they want, but at the same time, those wants and needs are going to change. I get that. And we're just trying to get them the most that we can get them for what they want their lifestyle to be. And we've narrowed down a couple areas. Now, what do they have to do first thing when they come into town? Drive the area. Make sure you like the neighborhood. If you don't like the neighborhood, what's the point? And that's why this online stuff only goes so far. I can only guide you so much through the computer and through video chatting and through phone conversations. Yeah, I can tell you my impression of it and how I would feel there, but until you actually do it yourself, I don't know how much that's going to mean to you. All right, and as we mentioned earlier, there are a ton of jobs here, and these jobs are going to be all over the spectrum. ZipRecruiter.com is where I got the information. Okay, so here's a little bit of a map on ZipRecruiter.com to show the highest paying jobs in the Fort Myers, Florida area. And I'm just going to run through a couple of these to give you an idea, because we're always told that we don't have well enough paying jobs in the area. You can't survive living in the area. You need to make more money. Well, the one thing you will notice is that as you go down, we're starting with engineer, so it has to do with the construction field on the front end, but there's a ton of medical jobs in here. Construction, again, is very strong in the area, as you know, just by all the things that are being built around us. But you see the medical is definitely dominating. Another thing that's really, really working here, here you go, CDL, truck drivers, even a recruiter, the people do this. But you can see we're dominated pretty much by the construction industry, the medical fields, and there's going to be a number of other corporate positions that you can get in the area. Lots and lots of jobs. It's just a matter of how that fits into your budgeting and your lifestyle and the things that you're after. But for all those people that are concerned about jobs and about being paid, you can see here, you can still get paid very well in this area in many fields outside of medical. Medical and construction right now are dominating in the availability of jobs. There are plenty of other jobs. Just mentioned all the retail and stuff coming in. Bartenders and things like that, they still make a great living here, especially when in season, because then everything's loaded, everything's packed. And by the way, season's about to start here in the next month, so it's going to get crazy, it's going to get busy. Everybody's been saying how busy it already is. I have a lot of clients come in town and they say, hey, wait, this isn't busy. You think this is busy? This ain't busy. The perspective on what busy is up to you, but as far as what we're familiar with here and what we're used to, this is much busier than what it once was. But you're always going to have a spot here. You're always going to have a place to go to work if you want to. Remote working. Brianna, you're key. She is bringing her remote job here, and that allows her husband to go work at the police force. So he'll get integrated into his work. She's already bringing hers. They're set to start moving as soon as they get here. So these are the kinds of things that you can consider. If you're a remote worker, you really have no ties whatsoever to tell you where to be. But we're starting to see that as a big influx in our area as well. All right, so there we go. We talked about a lot of stuff today. Florida insurance can't be that bad, can it? It really isn't. But you'll experience it for yourself. We'll walk you through the process best we can, get you in the best position possible. And if you have more questions about any of this kind of stuff and moving to the area, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question that you need an answer to and you haven't heard anything about it yet, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.